Hello, my friends. How are you? Happy Friday. Yay. Hi, my name is Natasha. I am so excited to be here with you today. Oh my gosh, do I have things to chat about? So this morning, I'm sitting here, I had a really broken and disturbed sleep. Do you guys experience that? I don't know what I'm experiencing or what era of life I'm in. Again, this was not a subject that was talked about. The only thing I know about menopause or perimenopause or any of this kind of stuff is what I've learned on TV. Even when I started my menstrual cycle, I was absolutely confused, didn't know what to do. All I knew was at the top of my closet there was a box of tampons and a bag of pads, and I was like, okay, I'm not the best at reading directions, so let me just spare you the details, but I got it wrong. I absolutely got it so wrong. It was a very excruciating, painful few days, and yeah, it was definitely a difficult experience. So if you experience something like that, you are not alone. Yeah, it just wasn't something I was well aware of. So now, I don't know what it was, but for the last few nights, I have not been having a solid sleep. I've been just waking up frequently. And last night I made the dire mistake of leaving the heater on. So I had the heater on, I had all these thick blankets, and the next thing you know, I was I'm hot. I'm throwing off the blankets, get off of me. What is all this? I'm hot. Why is it hot? And I hear the heater running, and I was forgot to shut off the heater. That's okay. Once I got the heater shut off, I busted that window open because it was freezing, went to the bathroom, came back. My room was a freezing friggin' freezer, and I shut the window, got back into bed, and I was much cooler and much easier to fall asleep. But I say all that to say, when I have these patterns where I'm not getting good sleep, it just makes things a little more challenging, right? It's not you're just always just still springing out of bed. I'm getting out of bed, but it's it's also tempting to be hey, I want to just be laying in this bed. And so how many of you out there are doer? Raise your hand if you're a doer, and then raise your hand if you're a don'ter. And then raise your hand if you're just kind of somewhere in between. It depends on what we're talking about, right? Certain things I'm a doer, certain things I'm a don'ter. So, today then I started thinking, and I was okay, so because I was a little bit more on the sluggish side, I still woke up early. My body just naturally was okay, I'm up. And I'm okay, we're up. That's no problem. But I did find myself, going and reading certain things, which is great because I'm learning, I'm educating myself. That's at least what, I'm telling myself, right? So I finally get up and get out of the bed and get going. And, I do my routine, but I'm very nurturing in this morning. I'm taking it very slow, a little gingerly. Everything I'm doing has a little extra stretch and extra lean. And I'm really kind of just embracing that moment and just being this feels so, I love to stretch. My kids don't like to stretch, and I'm how can, if I could just stretch all day. I remember when I first started my health journey, I was if I could just stretch all day and that be a workout, sold, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. I just love stretching. And now, again, I'm not a trained stretching professional, nor have I, besides on YouTube and in the end of classes and a few random stretching classes I've taken, I don't know. I just do things that feel good, that again, have this delicate balance between, what feels good and not hurting myself. I'm gentle with it. And so again, that sparked, boom, this big idea for today and my writing. So, I'm over here stretching. I was listening to really good uplifting music. I was reading things. I was learning things. I, was listening to quick snippets of different other things, educationally for me, which is work, but it's so purposeful and fulfilling. And so it doesn't feel like work. And so next thing you knew, I heard in my head, this little pesky voice, and it was being as nice as it could, and it was get going. And the next thing I knew, 2 hours had gone by, and it was just me being slow and really enjoying it. And then I have this conundrum, right? Like so I really like to be efficient. I like to get things done. I'm like, here's what's on my agenda for the day, loosely. And, I want to get all these things done. And then I just have this like plethora. So you have like the daily agenda, but then I have like these bigger things behind, like, right? Obviously this, whatever this is, YouTube, podcast, book, whatever we want to call this, I've got this other big project I need to be working on. Is literally collecting cobwebs. I've got the kids. I've got, my own fitness goals. Like there's all kinds of different things going on, right? And they all want my attention, and they're all vying for the same 24 hours, which, oh yeah, by the way, I need to sleep and I love to eat. So, got to take part of that part in there too. Oh, and I have to do my workouts and drive and, parent. And so there's a lot of things competing for this very limited amount of time, right? And so I'm in this part where, like, okay, when I grew up, my first job, well, besides being like a nanny and all that stuff, but like my first like official nanny, camp counselor kind of job was, I worked at this it wasn't fast food, but it was like faster kind of food kind of restaurant, but it wasn't fast food. I don't know. It was called Taxis. It was in San Mateo. It was on El Camino. It was their flagship store. They ended up going on to open many more. It was like a franchise for a little while. It ended up completely folding or whatever. But anyways, my boss there had taught me the saying, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. And so like, it just stuck with me. And I feel like it really kind of embedded in me as this like efficiency. Like I don't say it all the time, but like when I'm in that go-getter kind of mood, that doer mood, like I am like, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. And so I'm over here just, loving the way this stretching is feeling, listening to good music, and it's a total vibe, right? And I'm having it's so pleasurable. I'm so comfortable. I'm so taking care of myself in this moment. And then I have over here, the little pesky person that was like, let's get going. Like, let's get the steps done. Let's get some writing. Let's get some planning. Like, what have we done for this project? What have we done? Like, it's ready to go. It's morning. It's time to go. And so I was like, okay, like it like woke me up from like this like slumber I was in, that I was awake, but I was sleeping. And then I had this like conundrum in my mind, because I was like, I'm learning what self-care is, right? Like, so I'm still practicing it, because I recently learned it, right? Like in the last few years, I really overly did it because I had to understand like what it was. What does it feel like? What is the benefit of this? So for me personally, I always seem to do these like overcorrections, and then it's like kind of like a scale, and we're like, oh, okay, here is where it kind of all balances out. But I am also aware that I'm a person who loves to overindulge in stuff that she likes, whether it be sparkly cups, whether it be my sweet treats, whether it be exercising and dancing. Like when I love something, I don't know if it's the same for you, I am all in. I'm 110%. Like there is not enough sparkly cups in this world. I want one of every color, every shade, if there's sweets, I want to try every sweet you have, and I'm not going to have just one. I'm going to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. One dance class is great, but 2's even better. So like, I have this tendency to like overindulge on the things I love. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just an observation, right? And so I'm sitting over here loving the stretch, and I was like, okay, I can overindulge in this right now, and which is fine. The difference between me realizing it now and how I used to talk to myself was that like, hey, it's okay. What is this? Like, is this an excuse so I don't have to do anything else today? Like, is this self-care? And I'm just giving myself some self-love and having a, slow Friday. It doesn't mean that like how it started isn't how it's going to end, and I'm not going to accomplish it. And heck, maybe I don't. Maybe today my body needs, and my brain and my mind needs a day of stretch. And that's okay too. And then it's like, is this also like a distraction? Like, is it distracting me so I don't have to think about things that I'm like, this is hard, right? Like, which then started making me think like, all the gains I've achieved recently, they've all come directly because I did some hard work. I did some things that pushed me out of that comfort zone, right? Like, it wasn't just like, I'm comfy over here. And like, no, it was trying new things and putting myself in a position where failure was a very big possibility. But that wasn't that wasn't a thought, right? Like, it was just like, that's okay. That's a possibility. And like right now, what is failure? Where I am today? Well, then I'm technically already failing. So if I try a little bit, then hey, what the heck? Let's see what happens. I can always go back to failure. Like, it's on the table. It doesn't like disappear. So it made me start thinking. So I'm like, it snapped in me like, okay, get up. So, I not get up, but kind of get up, because I was kind of standing and then stretching, so get the rest of your body up, throw on your shoes, do your walk, do your run, do your writing. And it was like, okay, I can do it. And what I realized then is like, again, it's all about like this balance. When I'm doing stuff, I'm also saying I'm don'ting. So like, it's like, I don't want it. I guess in that moment, right? Like, just being completely honest with myself, because that's where the growth happens. If I'm lying to myself, good luck. You got to get raw and honest with yourself. Like, I used to say, like, if people called me, and I'm sorry, like, I don't know what the politically correct term is, just this is how I talked to myself, and this is my opinion, my beliefs, like, educate me, teach me something different, like, I'm fine, but I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to anybody, but I'm just saying this, like, I needed to look in the mirror and be like, okay, who is looking back at me? Like, if I'm sitting here lying to myself and saying, size 2 model is looking back at me when it's a size 24 on a good day. I don't know. I tried to wear a lot of elastic pants, but I had some 24s in here that were tight on me. So, like, I had to be honest and say, so like, that's what I used to say. If somebody calls me fat, it doesn't offend me when I was fat, because I'm fat, and maybe that's just what it is. Like, I can't be offended by who I am. If somebody calls me a brunette, I'm a brunette. I'm not offended by it. I'm a brunette. If somebody calls me a green-eyed gal, I'm not offended. I am a green-eyed. I am aware, of those things. Sometimes some people want to call me a bee back in the day. Yeah, you can call me a bee. You want to know why? Because I was probably being a bee. Like, if I'm doing something now, if you try to say something I'm not, if I'm being kind, if I'm being open-hearted, if I'm being generous, and now you want to say something that I'm not, like I'm greedy and I'm this, then I'm going to have a problem, because I'm pretty aware of who I am. Or if you have an instance where you're like, hey, you went to the patisserie and you only bought yourself treats, you didn't offer them to anybody else, and I felt like that was greedy. Okay, I can evaluate it, but I don't have to take it in. I could be like, hey, nobody ever asked me. I did offer, like all these other things, and not defend, but I can listen and say, did I have a greedy heart? Like, was I like, no, this is, and there's times that I've been like, this is mine. Do not touch. If you'd like one, please let me know. I will even purchase it I will go get it, deliver it. But this one is mine. This is important to me. as silly as a treat is, like, there's very few things. If something is important to somebody else, for whatever reason, you may deem it as silly or not. And I've explained this to you. It's not greedy that I want the whole thing to myself. Like, I have my own reasoning for that. So whatever. I'm not going to get lost on the greedy tangent. That doesn't really matter. But what I'm saying is, having this awareness of who you are is not to be mean. It's not to be like, oh, you're fat, like to myself. This wasn't how, I'm not saying anybody else is, but like how, like it wasn't to be mean per se. All it is it's discovering and seeing where a weakness is. And if I was happy, which for a long time, I was happy being overweight. I had every reason in the book. I felt like it was armor. I felt like it protected me in ways. I felt like it kept out people that didn't, if you didn't like me now, what is it going to be different? You're going to suddenly like me and treat me with respect when I'm thin? Then I don't want your friendship. So in a way, it was this armor of other people too. I also felt this weird sense of like, and like, it's not true. Like, everyone is beautiful. Like, everyone is amazing on this earth, like no matter what shape or form you're in. But I didn't see that in myself. I had this perception that, beauty was synonymous with being small. And I I had this misconception because I didn't understand that that beauty was from on the inside. So I felt like people would not be attracted to me at a larger size, but really it was my personality that was, at least I believe, is what attracts people, right? Like yeah, I get it. Like, we often judge books by their cover, but that's not who the book is. Like, it can be the most beautiful cover. It's so aesthetically beautiful. And then you get inside and you're like, what is the words are upside down. It has no grammatical sense. Like, it is a hot mess. Like, it is mean. It is cruel. It is all these things. And then you go open a book that is like so unassuming sometimes. And you're like, oh, wow, like, this is so beautifully written. It's as if it was written for me. Like, this is so lovely, or I love this story, whatever. So again, we all know, we all do it. It's just a part of us. But like, you know, I had this misconception in my mind that like my decisions to be big, which I was fine with, because I was like, honestly, at that point, I was like, I'd rather live 10 less years and have this Coca-Cola and wash it down with some chips and, you know, and do it on repeat and rinse and repeat all day long, you know, and have my goodie. But now I had the goodie, so I want the salt again. And now I have the salt, so I want the sweet again. And just do this all day long and I didn't care. Like, I was aware exactly of what I was doing. And I just was okay with that life. Like, it was fine. Like, I was fine with it until I wasn't fine with it. And it wasn't like I wasn't fine with it because I wanted to be loved by somebody or I wanted society to accept me more. No, already society had accepted me. I had friends. I, you know, had a husband. I have children. Like, you know, I've had jobs. Like, people were, you know, like, I'm a good person. So people were also good to me. I go to these doctor's appointments and they're like, I love your energy, right? Like, most people coming in here and we're giving them a brain tumor diagnosis. They in here crying and, you know, thinking negative, and you're over here like, okay, like, we got this. Like, let's go. Like, you come in here and you know you're going to get like really difficult decisions to make and really difficult news, but yet you're coming in here with a smile. Like, you know, they're like, I noticed that. So like, I was always who I was, always, right? I was a lot of times afraid to show who I was in regards to myself. Right? Like, I could go and do that for my kids. I can go and show up. Like, I had that confidence, but I didn't have the confidence in me because I didn't ever give myself the opportunity to discover who I was. So again, we're going to try to reel me back in, which is sometimes so difficult, right? So are you a doer or are you a don'ter? It is okay if you spend your day doing however you want, right? Like that, you are okay with that. But just understand, like, what I need to understand, I'm saying this to like talk to you, but I'm also talking to me, is that like, if I choose to spend my day in a deep stretch all day, that's fine. Like, I also deserve things that are pleasurable. I deserve to not be working all the time. Like, those things are all good. But I also need to understand, have that cognition that if I don't push myself out of that pleasurable moment and that pleasurable thing, that there isn't a lot of growth, right? Like, you have to push past that resistance that I don't want to do it, right? Like, I don't want to get up and run right now. Like, even if I'm not saying that or thinking that, by choosing to not, you are saying, I don't want to something else. So like, that had this really like kind of jarring thing in my mind. And so I just want to tell you, I want to remind you, like, if you want to be a doer, go and out there and do it. If you want to be a don'ter, that's okay too. This is your life. That's the whole point of this. You are creating the life you want, the life you deserve, the life you love, not me. I'm not over here to judge and be like, oh, what is she doing over here? And oh, she should be doing No, that's not the point. The point here is you are doing the things that you love. And here's the thing. Again, I talked about this yesterday, about like being a perfectionist and not knowing where to start and thinking I need to know exactly what it is. So it's like, I remember so many times it was like, what am I going to do to sit here and start living the life I love when I don't even know what it is? Like, I don't really know. Like, I joke around and tell my kids I'm this old, but I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Like, I joke around, but there's a lot of seriousness to this. Like, I don't know, like, I'm a mom, like, that's it, right? Like, I do this. Oh, and I help with this business, but it's not, it is my business. I don't really care. Like, so rude to say, like, but it's not like, it's just truthful. It's not my passion. It's not enjoyable to me. Like, the running of a business, I love that part, right? Like, that's cool. Like, you get to learn, that stuff fires me up. But the actual business, I'm not excited about it. Like, computers don't excite me. I'm sorry. Like, they don't do it. Like, learning, even trying to, like, I just don't. It's not me. If it's you, cool. That we need you. Like, and you need somebody who like me, because maybe the stuff that I like, y'all like, ooh, I'm not into that at all, right? Like, that's what makes the world amazing, is there's so many different fabrics of life and so many different people. And so I started thinking about you, like, and I started thinking, well, like, what can help to, like, it's just that decision. Like, if you want the change, right? So you want to be a doer. You don't want to be adulting over here anymore all the time. Is, when we feel like that, like, where it's like, I don't want to, it's like having the power to have the courage to do anyways. And there's no guarantee it's going to work, right? Like, I'm not going to sign a contract and say, if you do this, you are for sure going to have this wonderful life, great relationships. You're going to be so happy and fulfilled. Your kids are going to adore you. Your employers, employees, they're all going to dote all over you. No, I'm not guaranteeing anything. But what I am saying is, if you do something for you, you are giving yourself a greater chance at having that possibility happen. When we do nothing, we're just leaving our life up to chance and fate. And if we get lucky enough, maybe we'll strike it rich. Maybe something will happen. But if you're not out there actively working at it, the chances are so, so, so slim. And so I want to say to you, like, the first place, like, I was trying to think, like, where does it start? It starts with you. Like, you have to have this belief, this desire to change your life. Like, think about it. Are there aspects, maybe there's aspects you love. You love your relationship. It is so fulfilling. It is so perfect. But your career is in the toilets. You just don't like the job you're doing. It pays the bills. You drag yourself in. You do the same thing every day. Like, I don't know where the deficiencies are. Like, for me, like I say, like, I still adored my kids. I loved the part of being a part of a business and growing it. But other than that, I was literally dead inside, flipping my TV from housewife to housewife, from, binge watching this Netflix show to numb and distract me from that inadequacy I was feeling inside, from that death. I felt dead inside. It was literally like a shell. You go on the beach and you see a shell, and there used to be a life living in it, and now it's just hollowed out, and like, that is how I felt. I could muster up me around my kids and for other people, and those kind of things would, like, fire me up. But then as soon as they were at school, or things calmed down, like, I was like, just nothing. Like, I have nothing for me. And so I was thinking about this. So I was saying, okay, well, what can change? And it was just the belief. Like, it literally starts with, like, you need to believe in yourself and believe you can change. Because if you're like, I can't change, people don't change, today, if that's where you're at, you are 1000% correct. Like, you will not change. If you're going to be having this kind of attitude about it, like, it's just not going to happen. And I'm not saying that to be rude, but I'm saying that because I've been there. Like, I've been there, and like, I'll say, like, yeah, I want to change. Like, I want things to change, but then immediately had 45,000 reasons why it wouldn't, or I wouldn't, or, what's the point? Like, what am I going to do? Da, 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 da. So yeah, you're going to have to keep working that muscle to get you just to that plain, like, basic level. Like, you need to believe wholeheartedly, like, change is possible. Like, if I can change, I'm telling you, if I can do it, you can do it too. You just have to believe. If you believe that, like, what you've seen, like, of the pictures, you didn't know me, perhaps what you've read or the stories you've heard, and, you know, other people can testimony, you know, for you that have known me and seen the changes, like, or there's somebody else in your life that you have seen magnificent changes and their life alter. And with changes, like I say, it's not always easy. Not everybody accepts you for your changes, but you have to be okay with that. You have to understand that, like, if you don't change for yourself and you continue to live somebody else's life, you're going to have the hollowed out existence. And if you're okay with that, be okay with that. Like, that's totally fine. Nobody is insisting you must change and your life is not good. Like, not at all. Like, if it's good, killer. Like, continue on. Like, that is so perfect. I am so happy for you. But if it isn't, this is what this is here for. So number one, you need to have this belief, like, change is possible. My life can change, and you got to believe it. And then number two, the next thing you got to do is you got to take micro, macro, teeny tiny, consistent action. And, you know, like, before I used to think, oh, well, then I need a plan. I need to plan what it is I want my life to look like. I want my life to look like I'm traveling, I'm doing this. Okay, so where am I traveling to? Like, I overcomplicated it. Forget all that. Forget the plan. Because all I needed to know, the only thing I had any clarity on whatsoever was I needed my life to change. I was very miserable the way I was inside. I was beginning to become resentful, depressed, angry, all the things that I despise in life. I was becoming, right? And so I just was like, I need to change. And that's all I knew. And I couldn't overwhelm myself, being the perfectionist, to know how this story was going to end, what this change was going to look like, what my life was going to look like, what my career was, what my family life would look like, what my relationship. I could not know all that in one time. So if you don't have clarity, don't have that stop you. If you have clarity, fabulous. You're steps ahead of the game. And be open to understand what is clear to you now as the person that you are may look very different at the end, but be open to it, because you just don't know where this process is going to take you. It is a exciting and invigorating process. So leave every door open. Leave all the options open to yourself to see where this wonderful journey of yours will take you. So I say that's the number one. So here I'm going to say what this is. I'm going to end with this today. So what I want is, if you are in belief, if you're number one, you believe you can change, you want to change, and you're on board for number one, check, big check for that one. And number two, you're willing to take small, micro, mini, teeny, tiny action consistently every day. I'm going to give you a challenge. This is called the 1 block walk challenge. So every day, I would like you to begin with today. Let's just start small, okay? Today, I want you to take a 1 block walk. 1 block walk. And I'm not going to be here to tell you what time of day, what you need to wear, none of that. If it means you get up in the morning and you go for a 1 block walk, great. If you do it before you get in the car to go to work, great. If you do it after the car, you know, when you're getting out of your car, before you walk in the house, instead of walking in the house, you take a 1 block walk, great. If you do it, you know, during your lunch break, whenever, you know, while your kids are at practice, I am not the definer of when and where and how this should look. All I'm asking you to do is take a 1 block walk today. Can you commit to a 1 block walk? And if you can, great. And I know that that's a different challenge for everybody, because we're not all equally abled. Like I said, when I first started my 1 block walk, I was out of breath. And I have like that is how unhealthy and unfit I was, right? Now I take a 1 block walk. I don't even think about it. It's like, oh, it's like air. It's just breathing. It's just happening. And I want you to do this. So take your 1 block walk. Can we start there? And I will continue with the rest of the story and the rest of the directions tomorrow. So please go out there today, take your 1 block walk, commit to that, really believe and keep an open mind. And I will get to the next parts and let you know the value of this. And so I hope that you love it. I hope that you enjoy it. Please know that is exactly where I started. And I will go and take a 1 block walk too, because I want to be a part of what your journey is, and I want to experience what you're experiencing, because even though I've done it and I've come out the other side, it doesn't mean that there aren't still more lessons to learn. Just like when we reread a book or rewatch a show or have go reflect back on a conversation or a time or a memory, like there is always something to learn. What we catch today, where we are today in our life journey, is very different than where we were before and where we will be in the future, if that's what we're working towards. So I say all that to say, it has been such a joy. I wish I had 10 hours to talk with you today. I feel like there's so many things that I have like written and ready to go, but I'm going to hold there. And I say all this to say, I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for listening. I can't wait to hear and see all the changes and transformations that happen in your life, because I can't explain. I can't put it into words. There aren't as many beautiful words in this vocabulary to explain how I feel now. It is so complete. It is so different. And even on the roughest days and the toughest of situations, I know everything is going to be absolutely okay. I know I am okay. I know I am beyond okay. So, and I just know it's all part of this bigger purpose, and it all will reveal itself in time. Like each time something happens, you're like, yes, now I get it. I get why this didn't happen or did happen or whatever. So I say all that to say thank you for being such a big part of my life, in my journey, because in this quest to help you, I am even learning more about myself. And that is so amazing. So I am so grateful for that. And if you could do me one more favor, go out there today, perhaps on your 1 block walk. Go out there, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you so much. Mwah. Bye.